Ladies and gentlemen, I just really want to welcome everyone to Braver Angels, Bridging the Partisan Divide. And I want to especially thank Monroe County Library and our local volunteers in Braver Angels of South Central Indiana. And of course, Cats TV for covering here and streaming us down into the conference room. And we're going to get larger organizations coming in and checking this out. But first, my name is Miles Eddy, and I'll be your ambassador tonight into this grassroots movement for civil renewal. I hope everybody will participate tonight, including those who are watching the replay, and just turn to someone next to you and try this, because we're going to partner up here in a second. But before anything else, we are going to get started with the main presentation momentarily, but I would like to start, ladies and gentlemen, with a story. Once upon a time, there was a ball of all colors. And before long, a ball of some colors came along, and the two had a grand old time. And before long, something remarkable happened. And the ball of some colors turned into two balls. Well, the ball of all colors was thrilled. More perspectives to play with. But then, one day, and I don't know why, but the red and the blue decided they wanted to play with someone more like them. So they kindly asked the ball of all colors to leave so they could play with the ball of some colors who was more like them. And sometimes the ball of some color would play with the ball of red, and sometimes the ball of blue. And it was okay until one day the ball of some colors decided it was really a ball of blue. Well, this freaked out the ball of red. And before long, the ball of all colors was entering back into the pattern, trying to restore balance. But something was just not right, and it was a mismatch. And everybody was looking to fill the same space. And the ball of some color said, "I want to play." And they all try to occupy the same space at the same time, until it all came crashing down. Which brings us to why we're here today. Ladies and gentlemen, our agenda today, we're going to come up with two activities here. We're going to be partnering up. You can just turn to someone next to you here. We have a volunteer from Braver Angels here. If we want to just pair some up. If it's three, it's fine. Then we're going to show you a 4.5-minute video. It has an excerpt of the Red-Blue workshop. And after that, we're going to talk just a little bit about the crisis and the cost of polarization, and then ways to get involved with Braver Angels, who's addressing those concerns. And then we're going to end the formal presentation near the top of the hour with a minute-and-a-half public service announcement from South Central Braver Angels, a local alliance. And then right at the top of the hour at 8, we will have your questions. And the whole point of today is, of course, to address the issue of polarization. And if you find this as exciting of an organization as I do, we're gonna help you get something. You're gonna help you learn what Braver Angels is about on the very next click, Crossing the Continental Divide. All right, now, does everybody have a handout? In a workshop, we would normally be much more structured and have a little bit more time to do all of this. Today, we're just giving you a little bit of a sample of what we're doing in these workshops, and all the different variety of ways that people are taking this message. And I want to thank Braver Angel volunteer Linda Beck, who put together this initial program and the ambassador training, which I just finished. And little secret, this is one of the first times that this has been presented and the first time that I've presented this presentation. So this is going to speak for itself in a lot of ways. So I'm really, really excited to be here. And I also want to thank our volunteers. We have Diane here. I want to thank Vanessa, who helped out with organizing, and the whole team that makes up the Braver Angels volunteer network. So another day, we're going to do some more of these in work sessions and invite other organizations in Bloomington to come together and do this kind of networking. We'll talk a little bit more later about Braver Network partners. And your call to action tonight. Yes, there's a QR code there. So you might want to pull out your phone and make sure it's silent, but you might need it because this Get Involved QR code, and the URL is on the bottom there. It's just braverangels.org/get-involved. And we will show you some of what you will find on that. But if you wanted to, just go ahead and pull that up now. Now let's start an activity, and we're going to dive right in. This is a depolarizing activity that is a sample of what we do in the Depolarizing Within workshop. So we're going to partner up, and you kind of just came. Diane, if you want to partner up with someone here, if you guys want to do this with someone you didn't come with, that's fine. Again, this is more just an example. If you're at home, if you're just watching this, find someone next to you, invite someone to come watch this with you. And here is your question. Identify one thing you have in common about beer. Beer. We're in a college town. Beer, you know, like beer. And it doesn't matter if you drink beer. It doesn't matter if you like beer. Just try to find something beyond the obvious that you have in common about beer. I mean, it could be beer ads. It could be the beer industry, whatever you want. Now, challenge yourself to find as many things as you have in common. And maybe something like, you know, beer is bubbly if you're really stretching to try to find something, right? And again, normally we would be writing this down and we would be doing this a little bit more elaborately and you get a better feel of this. But go ahead right now and let's just take a couple minutes and what do you have in common about beer? And then just kind of note a few things and we'll have a popcorn share at the end of this. So go ahead and do that now.
Sounds good. Have you?
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
So I knew when I did this exercise at the Braver Angels convention, they threw that out there and they did it with beer. We can do this with any subject. It doesn't have to be beer. The whole point here is just to figure out how to find common ground. So I'm going to listen in here. Oh, excellent, excellent. All right, so everyone, come on back. We could go into this. It's a great exercise. And, you know, we typically do find things in common if we just look for them, right? And we might totally disagree, but we want to work on, you know, separating the person from their opinion. So let's do a popcorn share. Who had some difficulty finding something in common? Okay, we have one hand. All right, it can be a little bit different. How many of you were able to find something in common about beer?
How many what?
Find something in common. Even the person who's had some difficulty is raising their hand.
We're both human beings.
You're both human beings occupying the same space and time as beer, right? Okay. There's always something you can do. So, you know, you probably asked questions, they said something, he told you a story. You learn about each other's positions from your past experience with beer or whatever the subject is. And that's what we're doing here today, to discover ways to have civil conversations, conversations that we need to have to govern our communities. And what if we had done this with something related to politics? Could we have gotten a similar result? Cordial conversation, actually enjoy it? I mean, maybe, but probably much more volatile getting there. Now, maybe you came to an agreement easily, and maybe it took a little bit longer, but we do have a lot more in common than we generally think. And we all want to be heard, right? All we want is to be treated with respect. And we all want to be part of the important conversations. So let's learn how to talk to each other. All right, so now we're going to do a little bit more serious of an activity. And this is directly from the Depolarizing Within workshop, which helps raise awareness about your inner polarizer, especially when you're talking to like-minded people. How do we propagate polarization when we're talking about the other side, air quotes, right, with our friends? How are we not solving the problem of polarization? And how many of us feel comfortable with having political discussions? Yeah, I mean, even someone on your same side, they can get really uncomfortable really fast. And certainly if it's somebody that you have an opinion about because you're hearing it on the news or these sources. And we can get into a little bit about that in some of the workshops. And I'm going to give you just a little taste of this particular exercise. And afterwards, we're going to partner up again. I'm going to ask you for your reactions to this exercise and not your actual answers. So I won't be asking you to share your answers on this. And usually we'd write this down. If you have the handout, check it out. I think it says something about your inner polarizer. And if you need a pen, there's some pens up here. Diane could maybe, if you need one, just ask if you need it. They may not even need it right now because this really is going to be more of a thought exercise tonight. So I'm going to go over these questions with you instead of having you fill the survey out on your own here. And you can take some notes. And I want to see, okay, the QR code, for those at home, the QR code will come to where you can get this document online and just click on it. And circle your response or just make a mental note of which ones really kind of ring to you. And we'll have another popcorn share here after this. And this is going to give you a baseline of your own belief towards others. So this is an invitation to do some personal reflections, and it could bring up some uncomfortable feelings. And we're only going to do this for a minute or two, so feel free only to participate as you wish. And I do encourage you to go with your first reaction because that answer is usually the most honest. Remember, and you won't have to share these answers. So let's go over those questions. All right, so again, this is something we do in the workshop. And today we're just going to do it as a thought experiment. If you want to write it down, pull out your phone, take a note, get a pen. And this might be interesting to look at again later after you've gone through a workshop. So here we go. I'm going to read the questions. Just ponder the question. How often do I find myself thinking about those people on the other political side without much regard to the variation among them? And then you'd circle often, sometime, never. 2, how often do I find myself assigning mainly self-serving or negative motivations to the other group and mainly positive motivations to my group? Often, sometimes, never. Just ponder that for a sec. Do we do that? How often do I find myself focusing on the most extreme or outrageous ideas in people on the other side, thereby making it hard to see how a reasonable person, now make it hard to see how a reasonable person could remain in that group? Do you ever feel that way? Often, sometimes, never? That was 3, right? Yeah. 4, how often do I find myself comparing the worst people on the other side with the best people on my side? And when I heard that one the first time, it's like, yeah, I know that one. 5, how often do I feel a rush of pleasure with friends when we ridicule those crazies on the other political side? Right? It can be actually entertaining. Polarization. Yeah. Yeah, I think somebody just kind of related to that question. 5. 6. Which of the following is closest to my overall emotional attitude towards the majority of people who support the other side? So circle 1 closest to where you are now, and then the one you aspire to, if they are different. Hopefully they are. Right now you might hate, they are our enemies out to destroy the country. You might feel that way towards them. Or you might feel just disdain. They're ignorant, should know better, right? Maybe you just feel pity for the other side. They are well-meaning, but they've been duped. That's easy to feel. Basic respect. Now we're going up to the positive side of this. We have a graphic about this here coming up, which will kind of give you a visual about this. So basic respect. They make contributions even if they are mostly off base. And then respect and appreciation. They make unique and necessary contributions. So that's a little exercise that we do, and then we'll get together, and then you would break off in your partners, and you'd kind of discuss this. But today, I think, for those who would like to be brave and just give us your reaction to this particular exercise. And again, I want to emphasize that you don't actually have to share what your answer was. Just how do you think this exercise could help depolarize our communities? I mean, is this something you'd find useful? Any reactions? I remember when I got into this, I mean, I had a lot of reactions. Yeah, here, we'll go with you.
I guess I'm curious. In my daily life, I don't come into contact very often with somebody with opposing political views. Mm-hmm.
Well, okay. Yeah, to have conversations. As a matter of fact, we actually do have a workshop that does cross the racial divide. There's a skills workshop, and then they've customized those for different audiences. And one is called Skills for Bridging the Racial Divide. And so that is an opportunity for people to come in and have those conversations. So I'll probably talk a little more about that when we get to that slide. And let's go ahead and move on and...
Oh, Joan?
Oh, I'm sorry, yes.
Well, I had a comment.
Please.
Do you remember? Oh, okay. I worked in Martinsville for 19 years with people who were mostly Republican, not all, and we often had discussions about politics.
Yeah. And I'm gonna go ahead and redirect this, because in the workshop we don't actually get necessarily to this level of detail.
Why not?
Because we have the debates to do that. And so in this particular workshop, this is more of a self-reflection exercise in the Depolarizing Within. Now, in a good, appropriate place for you to be able to say what you're saying and have a mix of an audience is the Braver Angels style of debate. And it's a parliamentary style, and they're working on college campuses quite a bit with the college debate. And then you're with the lunch group, so that's another great example of being able to have a structured environment with that. And if you wanted to hang out afterwards, people might love to talk to you. Okay, sure. But this is just the beginning, folks. This is the prototype, because today, Election Day, is the beginning of the 2024 presidential election cycle, right? So, but I get ahead of myself. So let's go ahead and move through. All right. So this is the kind of thing that we might do in a workshop. And there are other types of activities to get involved with other than workshops. So I hope you found that interesting. It was just a taste, and hopefully it stirred your curiosity. And I strongly encourage you to sign up for the whole workshop, because there's a lot of really good stuff in that. I am a moderator. I will probably be arranging one of those here before too long, so do stay in touch. So a different kind of the Braver Angel workshop is the original Red-Blue workshop that started Braver Angels. Actually, it was originally called Better Angels, which was a reference to Abraham Lincoln's inaugural address, appealing to the better nature, better angels of our nature, just before the Civil War. So that's where they kind of got the motivation for the name. And then we ended up changing it to Braver Angels, which is what we are now. And they just updated their website too, which I could talk about in the work session later. So this Red Blue workshop, it's definitely a much more immersive experience. And it brings together 8 red leaning participants and 8 blue leaning participants. It's generally an all-day, highly structured environment to learn about each other. This would be another place where we could start going over the kinds of things that you were mentioning, and then come back together, and I can describe some of those later in the work session about the various exercises with here. So creating these environments. So let's jump in. I mean, we started talking about this a little bit earlier, and the crisis of polarization. Polarization. I looked it up. The division into 2 sharply contrasting groups or set of opinions or beliefs. Now, Braver Angels concerns itself with the crisis that's known as affective polarization, where disagreements become toxic. It's not that we just agree, we start to demonize the person. The Braver Angels ways doesn't actually seek to try to change people's minds on issues. We just want to be able to calmly and respectfully discuss the concerns and ideas that are facing our communities. And what is the personal cost of polarization? Now, there's a bunch of words and stats I could read off here, but I think on this one, all I really need to do is just take a moment of silence here to feel the effect of polarization in our own lives and in our country. So what is the personal effect of polarization in our country? I don't think I have to say anything more. You wouldn't be here. You wouldn't be watching this right now if that didn't answer that question. But there's good news. There's good news. I believe we have more in common than we think. The Braver Angel Ways is not about trying to change political opinions. Instead, it teaches us how to listen and how to learn how someone came to their particular views, their life experiences, and their values. To the common grounds to seek common ground where it exists, and to speak honestly and without fear otherwise. Now, surveys tell us that 79% of Americans say that, quote, given the opportunity, they would play a part in reducing social division in America. Now, that's 4 out of 5 people. So tonight, let's take 4 out of 5 people, and somebody's going to say, yeah, let's go do something about trying to address polarization. And Braver Angels is really a great way to do it. Some of the things that they're doing, I'm going to show you in just a sec, but stay after the presentation because this is a good time to network. And we do have the conference room downstairs if we want to go to tables or anything. And afterwards, don't be shy to introduce yourselves and talk about what you thought about the presentation and what Braver Angels is doing. See, we are all leaders in this grassroots movement. So we all have access to the same tools that Braver Angels is providing us. And my job as an ambassador is to help you be aware of what those tools are and how you personally might want to get involved in the organization. And they've got a ton of different ways to do it. But I wanted to elaborate a little bit more on the Red-Blue workshop here, and then we're going to show you a video. Now, this began as an experiment to see if it was possible to bring together people from both sides in calm discussion. So in December of 2016, the first Red-Blue workshop was held in South Lebanon, Ohio, and brought together equal number of Republicans and Democrats. So let's go ahead and watch that video now.
So, what's the answer? How about putting old and young, rich and poor, conservatives and liberals in the same room and just have them talk it out? Which is to say, try something, anything. Here's Martha Teichner.
angry Trump supporters demanded entry to a ballot processing center in Detroit today.
Michigan is a battleground state, in every sense of the word. Here, purple doesn't mean moderate. It means the 50-50 red-blue split is a chasm.
I'm out of concern for our country and our democracy.
That concern is why these people gathered on a recent Saturday in Traverse City, Michigan. Half of them red, the other half blue, brought together by Braver Angels, a not-for-profit attempting to narrow the divide.
And I'm here just to help people understand the point of view of those in the red column.
I'm concerned that the polarization has become paralysis.
Started in 2016, Braver Angels now hold sessions nationwide.
I'm going to start out with some expectations to abandon.
It was shaped by Bill Doherty, who teaches relationships at the University of Minnesota. He's also a marriage counselor. Is it a proper analogy of reds and blues in America and couples on the brink of divorce?
There is an analogy to couples on the brink. A big difference is that divorce is not possible in America.
In Traverse City, participants arrived uneasy at first, defensive.
It was difficult to get in the car and drive there, but I knew I had to do it.
To get over her fear of the other side. After what happened in January 2021, when Kelly McIntosh addressed a virtual county commission meeting, asking commissioners to denounce the Proud Boys after the violence of January 6th. This was the response. Then came the threatening phone calls.
Anybody who knows me knows that I need to be here.
Task number one at a red-blue workshop?
We're all Marxists or communists, anti-Second Amendment, baby killers.
It sounds counterintuitive. List what they call you. The stereotypes. Reds and blues in separate rooms.
Deplorables. Misogynists and the conspiracy theorists.
Facilitators then ask each side if there's a kernel of truth in those stereotypes.
Passion for pro-life cause sometimes seems to not hear women.
And so it goes for 3 hours, peeling back the onion of opinion, looking for common ground, no trying to change anybody's mind.
Part of it was kind of gut-wrenching to sit in those stereotypes and then to hear what the other side, how they felt like we saw them.
Divided they were, but these people showed up because they wanted to know each other, not by label, but by name. Brent Swenson and Kelly McIntosh.
She's a neat lady. I like her.
Did you think you would click with someone of the blue persuasion so readily?
I would say that I went into it hopeful with that, but I didn't expect to find a friend.
I was shocked at the comfort, the camaraderie, because some of the things that we talked about were not real comfortable political things to talk about.
Here's the but. While Braver Angels has held more than 2,000 workshops and is growing, so is the divide.
So there's a big gap right here.
As for closing it, the brave proposition here is that at least trying is something.
3, 2, 1.
Okay, now let's one little quiz here. And I was going to prompt you beforehand, and I didn't. Co-founder Bill Doherty's occupation? Marriage counselor. You think that might be relevant? Maybe, maybe not. This guy actually, there's a video of him addressing Congress on the Brave Angels website. And I knew he had wrote the original workshops, which over the years we get feedback at every workshop. And we have been making these better and better and better and more relevant to more audiences. But this guy, Bill Doherty, spoke to Congress about polarization, and they read his bio, and very impressive. I recommend going and watching that if you really want to know what the guy who wrote the first Red Blue workshop was all about. We did have our first Red Blue workshop in this very building, and probably sooner than 8:25 I will play the MSNBC coverage of that, because they came in and they filmed the whole day and created about a 5-6 minute video, and we'll watch that at the end. But we watched the one we watched because it had some different information, and I just wanted to give you a better idea of what you can kind of expect in some of these workshops. So the Braver Angels approach. Now the second handout. Anybody need another handout? The Braver Angels approach. And I think, again, I'll have the QR code in the next slide. So the Braver Angels rules of engagement offer a partial list of workshops and experiences you can participate in. It also offers Braver Angels rules for trying to reduce frustration and improve relationships. I also want to refer you to the 2022 annual report. It's got a lot of really stuff in there, so when you get on the website for that, I just want to throw that out there right now. So take a minute to kind of look at that handout with the workshops on one side and the Braver Angels approach on the other. And if I advance the slide, that's what it looks like. And you can click the QR code to get a copy of this. Mainly, though, I want to point out just the kind of the major sections of this, and I'll just read those now. As individuals, we try to understand the other side's point of view, even if we don't agree with it. In our communities, we engage those we disagree with, looking for common ground where it exists and for ways to work together. We support principles that bring us together rather than divide us. Now, it's important to know that these skills aren't easy to implement. I've been doing this for years, and I'm still working on these skills in my everyday life. I mean, it takes practice. And now Braver Angels is providing a structured environment to first learn these tools and then to give us safe places to have these conversations. So what's the results? I mean, we are finding by the surveys that we do at the end of these events that we are decreasing stereotyped thinking. And this is going to lead others to seeing us as individuals, not faceless people who for some reason are standing in the way of doing good things, right? Those others. 70 to 80% of the workshop attendees report better understanding and a change in perception about people on the other side. 70 to 80%. Even these small increments in this direction, I mean, this seems like a huge success to me and keeps me motivated to be a volunteer with Braver Angels. And, oh, okay, there was a click there. So, 70 hours, so these are just some stats, and you can read them and advance to this slide. I like this slide. This is a great diagram. And it ties back to the Depolarizing Within survey that we did earlier. In the red area are emotions. At the top are key phrases we might hear or say. And in the middle are our views of others. And we went over all of those a little earlier. And the first principle of Braver Angels is equal participation of red and blue leading Americans at all levels of leadership in the organization. Now, this is really important. Success requires overlapping networks working together to achieve these shared goals. So the goal, of course, is to move ourselves clockwise on this chart. Now, there are a lot of different ways that you can get involved. This organization has been around for 7 years and have been growing in all sorts of ways. And this is really, really impressive. Like I said, this is really not about Braver Angels. This is about a civic renewal movement. The Braver networks, I'm going to talk about in just a second. So let me just go ahead and read what all these are. Braver citizens. Organizing thousands of citizens at the grassroots level in all 50 states through local alliances, regional leadership development, workshops, debates, community events, and town hall meetings. And I have a URL for you if that sounds appealing. Braver Politics. This is the other reason I feel this organization is doing good work and going to bring us into the right direction. Braver Politics is similar to Braver Citizens, except that it is for helping local, state, and national legislators bring an open dialogue and a collaborative work environment into our representative government. And Braver Angels is a network of organizations across the political spectrum working together to help our communities, right? We've got a lot of nonprofit and not-for-profit community building organizations. And we're committed to equal representation in the network of Braver Angel partners, because including these strong representations and these independent, nonpartisan voices, I mean, this is the mix that we need in our communities and our community organizations. Braver Campuses, Braver Angels, ACTA, and Bridge USA have forged an acclaimed program that teaches students to honor ideological diversity, foster civil discourse on college campuses, and cultivate student and facility leaders to carry the movement forward. All right, so that's the little blurb they have about it. I mean, Braver Campuses, I think, is also another really important part of Braver Angels, because we need diversity. We need old, we need young, we need everybody. Braver Media, we use opportunities like podcasts and social media to spread the message. And then Braver You, where we bring together musicians, scholars, researchers, writers, artists, jugglers, and other creatives to carry this message forward. All right, working together. A lot of that for me is just by having social time together. Juggling clubs. I want to start an activity for Braver Angels having a juggling club where we just come in and we don't talk politics, we juggle. Whole other subject. A little bit of my history that I will get to in a moment when we finish up here momentarily, or in about 15 minutes, I guess. There are many ways to experience Braver Angels. Here we go. We've got e-courses. Now, these are professional level courses, and they've been crafted by experts in communication and depolarizing, Bill Doherty being one of them. They provide an effective and safe way to interact with people in difficult situations. These concerns and these courses can be taken standalone, and they're generally about 40 minutes each. Now, the workshops, there's so many. There's the handout will give you a list of a bunch of them there. These are generally in person or on Zoom, and included on the handout. And again, I have a URL for those who want to explore those. Debates. These are our special parliamentary format, and it encourages everyone to speak and to ask questions. So this is not what most people think about debate as conflict. These are really good. These are online too. We have them in person. If you're interested in helping us get a debate going, there's another way you can get involved. Conversation, one-on-one conversation. Now this is, says a novel way. It's not all that novel. What's novel about one-on-one conversations? When did one-on-one conversations become novel? I think I need to update my script. Okay. But this is what we're doing. This is like we're doing something, and we're fumbling through sometimes, and we're looking at it, and we're being forgiving and patient, and we're asking questions and making it better. So then the ambassador program. This is something that's just growing now. This is something I'm hoping to be able to help Braver Angels with. And we are all ambassadors for this depolarizing movement that we are hungry for. It's not it's not my organization. I don't work for them. I'm a volunteer. It's our effort here. So that's the rah-rah to just talk this up, and that can mean just mention it to people or doing a post on Facebook or your social media. What are you going to do after you leave tonight? It could be just a post. We're going to get into that here in just a second. Now, you can request speakers like this presentation, and there's a link on the website for that. There are other special interest groups in Braver Angels. There's the Red Caucus. There's the We the People project that works with working class peoples. There's Angels of Colors, and there's a veterans group. And there is a whole bunch of stuff coming into this organization. It's like every aspect of our lives can be represented in the Braver Angel way. We get together for film discussions. How do we do this without falling into polarization? Music groups, book clubs, you name it, because it's you. It's you putting this stuff together and coming into your communities to learn who we are so that we don't learn, so that we learn who we are and we do good things together. All right. If you're not a member already, and even if you are, membership is $12 a year. And in that, you'll get a new link on the website that is the membership portal. And in that portal, there is all the training that can teach you all the different aspects of helping out with a workshop, the ambassador program itself. You can sign up for workshops. You can learn about debates. And like I said, there's a whole bunch online, so that is not even a problem. There's the self-directed courses. And $12 a year will do that. And if you do that, then you get into all of that. And you can also text BA to 66866. That will take you right to our join site. Okay, now this slide, I really want to talk up this slide here a little bit. Don't take long, but I just want you to know that your local alliance has been busy in this community. And we need more volunteers to do more of these. And the first workshop was in 2018, not downstairs, just around the corner here. In 2019, one thing we did in 2019 is we started the weekly conversations. We have someone who's been participating in that here today. In 2020, we went online. That gave us a huge shot in the arm for all of the stresses of that situation. It got the word out, and we now have that as a platform. This very presentation, I, as a volunteer, am now going to be able to help propagate this into the hands of others like Linda Beck did for me. And getting this out and getting this for an entire organization's structure to lend support as a volunteer is also something I can say a lot about. They're really good about supporting us. 2021, we started working with partner organizations. The first partner organization was Citizens Climate Lobby. They approached Braver Angels because they had a bipartisan agenda and they needed to bring people, but they were attracting mainly blues with Climate Citizens Lobby. And their volunteer base needed to understand some of the things that Braver Angels is teaching and sharing. So they created a special version of the skills workshop for climate activists to share with their volunteers when they're having conversations with people who have different perspectives about that. This is something we've done, and that started the Braver Networks. And so other organizations can come in, and not just to get support from us, but to share a common mission. We hosted a Common Grounds workshop. This is very similar to the Red Blue workshop. Just call me, ask me about this stuff. We're not be able to go over all of it. And then yeah, this was great too. The Habitat for Humanity, the local alliance, invited bipartisan members of our local government and staff and community to come together to support the idea that we can help in our community in a bipartisan, nonpartisan way. And that was another great collaboration, and we're trying to do that again. We want to do that again. Again, this is not me, this is you. It's what you do as a volunteer. What you do as a volunteer is what this organization is going to get done. And if you want to get stuff done, and then this chart, this sums up in one picture the diversity of this organization. And you just stare at that for a second. Okay, but we got to move on, because that would be a whole hour on its own there. All right, so now I've given you kind of an overview of some of the ways to get involved with Braver Angels, some of the ways to get involved with the idea that this is a tool set for us to use in our community. And I'm going to ask you now to go with your partner again, turn to your partner again, and just what is it that you would like to do? What is the first thing you'd like to do? Is it join Braver Angels, post something, sign up to bring Braver Angels into your church or your local organization? So just let's take a minute and what sparks to you, and share that with your neighbor.
Well, I think the first thing would be to get plugged into a source of information. So that we know what else is being planned.
That's a good idea. Very good idea.
So then depending upon what else I got myself involved in, let it be known that I am maybe willing.
So this is great to be able to be a fly on the wall in these conversations. It's one of the things I enjoy most about being a moderator, especially in the Red-Blue workshop.
But you're right.
Just hear what people's ideas are. It's just so refreshing to be able to have this environment. All right, so go ahead and finish up your ideas. And this has a picture of Don Bird and William Ellis, our state coordinators for Braver Angels, Indiana. And I'm just labeling this as a message from our Indiana state coordinators, William Ellis and Don. Go for it. This was another great. I'll tell you more about this one after the video.
Tired of getting yelled at when you mention Trump or Biden over family dinner? Tired of mashed potatoes turning into World War III? Well, look no further. Braver Angels is a solution, and for the low price of $19.99, we can help.
Oh, William, we aren't charging.
What? We aren't making money at this?
No, we're a nonprofit and we're doing this to help the country.
Wow, I see your point. The country is worth saving, but at least we're getting paid for doing this, right?
No, you know, we're donating our time, and this is too important to put a price tag on anyway.
Actually, you're right. We do have the tools to help, and the country is worth saving.
Exactly. See, a red and a blue can agree, and even if we didn't, we'd gain understanding with Braver Angels.
So what you're saying, there is a chance to make money?
No, but there's a chance to save the communities, families, fabric, and everything else that makes America great.
Did you just say make America great?
I think all of us want an America we can be proud of.
If you agree that America is best when we work together,
that America is best when we respect each other,
that we are the best when we respect these ideals,
please click on the link below to learn more.
Hey, sometimes I agree with the Reds and sometimes I agree with the Blues. Can I still join?
Yes, for the low price of... Okay. Yes, you can.
Of course.
So, there's a little fun something for you. All right, here we go. All right, so there's our wonderful slide there. And braverangelsindiana.org will take you to the Indiana website of Braver Angels. And this Braver Angels of South Central Indiana. Leadership in Braver Angels, we always need equal representation within the red leading and the blue leading. They're working more now with also having, you know, an other category too, because we need to represent everybody. But the organization was started for the polarization between red and blue. And we are evolving from there. And, ooh, I knew there was another slide that was going to go different in Google Slides. So Hal and Robert, thank you. These are our co-chairs of the local alliance. And now if you wanted to go to this URL, this will give you a chance to give us some feedback on tonight's presentation. As I mentioned, that this is we're always asking for feedback to make these presentations better. I am putting this together to personalize for my own perspective of Braver Angels, starting from the core material that they gave me, because as I said, we are all ambassadors of the movement. And I want to thank all of you. Up next, oh yeah, I get to tell you my story now. Now I'd like to end with another personal story. You see, in college, I had a dream of doing a multimedia stage show extravaganza with a positive, inspirational message. And for decades, I asked myself, well, what is the message I want to inspire? And when Braver Angels came along, it overlapped so much with my belief that when people talk together one-on-one, honestly and with curiosity, we do find our assumptions about the other to be very different than what we hear from the stereotypes. Music juggling and the performing arts is how I want to share my perspective in the world. And Braver's song is yet another way for me to get involved in Braver Angels. And I will be pursuing my relationship with Braver Songs after tonight. So I want to support this national civic renewal movement to bring Americans together, bridge the partisan divide, and strengthen our democratic republic. And I believe Braver Angels is leading the way with this mission. It's not about issues. It's about relationships. Thank you. And the crowd goes wild. Woo! All right, but now it's your turn, folks. So we're going to take a few minutes and just go into some question and answer. All right, we're just a couple minutes over, so we did pretty good there. Any questions? Did I answer all your questions?
Yes, you did.
I
and it was
did.
Wonderful. We learned a lot. Thank you.
All right, I'd like to take just a little bit then. I think what we'll do is just kind of make it kind of a little informal talk back at this point, and then I'm going to play the last video for you of the red-blue coverage from here in 2016. Yes?
I just wonder if it would be practical to go to churches and invite people to stay after the service to join in a Braver Angels organized chat session.
Yes. Is it helpful to have organizations go into like churches and then have conversations after that? That's exactly what I'm doing. I've done the Depolarizing Within workshop in my own church, and as a matter of fact, we're going to be having another one of these presentations in one of the churches up in Indianapolis 5 days from now. It'll be my second presentation of this program.
It's supposed to be
Finding reds willing to talk.
Reds and blues together.
The imbalance in the organization.
Reds.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Okay, well then let me just kind of address that question of the imbalance that Braver Angels has in its membership. At the leadership level, by our bylaws, we are required to have equal red-leaning and blue-leaning representation at the leadership level. Anybody can be a member. And it's true that this organization is attracting more blue-leaning. I believe that is starting to change. And I believe that what we need to do is to keep working on the Braver Angels ways, take these, what I feel are common sense ways of interacting with your neighbor, and bringing everybody in and letting the red leading folks know that this is their movement too, because this is their country too. And we need to govern the country, and what do we need to do that? And the first step in my assessment of what I can do is help depolarize our conversations. And that means bringing everyone in. So yeah, we have an imbalance of membership, but I am reaching out to those who have conservative views to join this organization and help lead this organization in the direction they would like to see it go, which could be the direction they want to see the country go. Actually, I misspoke with that, because like I said, it's not about the issues. It's not about the direction as far as why I'm involved with Braver Angels, is being able to get us to talk to each other. Because I have learned that in the Red Blue Workshop, I have learned that when people actually ask that question of the stereotype, what do you think the other side feels about your side? That when we come back together, that we find out that our perceptions of the other side is completely wrong. That what we're told and what we seem to believe about other people is rarely what an individual actually believes. And having that conversation in a non-threatening way is what we need to do. Rah, rah, go, go. braverangels.org/join. My hope for the organization, what I think is going to do the best and what I focus on in my volunteer work with the organization, is to do Red Blue workshops ideally, but workshops in general. Start new alliances or people who want to do the training to run those workshops, do more workshops, do more training, grow the movement. And we need help on all of this. I think that this being election day is bringing this subject into people's minds. And Braver Angels has all sorts of ways, great and small, that you can contribute into this movement if it speaks to you. Find something in all of this. Go to braverangels.org, poke around. You'll pay the $12 a year for the membership. Get into the membership portal. Poke around into all of the information there and everything they're doing. And then bring it to your own local communities. Bring it to your churches. Bring it to your organizations. Bring it to your friends. Bring it to your family. Family dynamics, that was another one, the bridging the family divide, right? And we're coming up on Thanksgiving, and this is on people's minds. Make it personal. We've got help. It's a great organization. Okay, ready for this last video? All right, let's do one more video. Now, as you know, the media bubble thing, right? And in Bloomington, if you say Fox News, you're going to get one reaction on one side of town, and if you say MSNBC, you're going to get a reaction on the other side. And that is why I did not play this earlier, I suppose. Let's see, hold on, let me. All right, here we go.
That we mentioned just before the break, which is about the divisions in this country. That's not a surprise to you. It shouldn't be. Since the presidential election, we've heard more and more people are getting more and more divided. We've seen a lot on this. We've seen both sides of the political aisle play the blame game. So how do we get past it? There's this nonprofit group out there called Better Angels that may have an answer. NBC's Rahema Ellis actually caught up with the group in Bloomington, Indiana. She's joining us now live from New York. So Rahema, how does this work? Is it realistic?
It is, because in this case, they asked people to volunteer, and they did. They got 12 volunteers, 6 Republicans and 6 Democrats, who were willing to sit down and talk. They were guided by the Better Angels organizers, and participants are asked to listen and try to understand each other's side, not change minds. And we played like the fly on the wall and just observed. What often, Hallie, I have to tell you, it felt like an intensive, messy marriage counseling session that went on for 7 long hours.
We're here to seek understanding.
The day began with both sides listing the negative stereotypes they think the other has about them.
We felt the stereotypes for us are that we're racist, number 1, stupid, uneducated, number 2, fascist, 3, anti-immigrant, 4, or cold-hearted and uncaring, 5.
Unpatriotic, socialists, baby killers associated mainly with anti-religion, anti-gun, and enabling takers.
The group later gathered in a different room to talk about why their policies are best for the country.
I think that the red side protects our freedom and our independence better by being less regulated by government.
Are there any examples that come to mind?
Well, one would be the right to bear arms. I think that we have that right.
I think that a lot of blue policies are designed to lift everybody up so that we can all be functioning well and contributing.
They also voiced concerns they have about their own side.
My side, I think, is far too willing to empower police and law enforcement. And that's very dangerous, and frankly, I think it's un-Republican.
I think sometimes blues tend to throw money at a problem as a solution.
After the exercise in self-evaluation, the group gathered to discuss what they had in common.
I think it was the military-style guns. I don't know, other than law enforcement, while anybody would need to have that, you don't need, an AK whatever to go shoot a deer.
I got the sense in listening to the discussion of the Reds, what kept coming out to me was the sense of a deep, deep belief in fairness.
So who would like to share an action step with the whole group?
Sure.
Dick?
Verify my facts, question what I'm told by the people I hold in authority, and don't lie.
Do not rely on stereotypes to form an opinion.
Be civil, don't argue, and put yourself in their shoes.
At the end of the 7-hour workshop, the presumptions Republicans and Democrats had about each other provided an opening to move forward.
Okay.
I think it's hard to get things done as a country if we're just trying to better ourselves over the other group and win.
We have to take our own responsibility for the divide.
So Americans, Republicans, and Democrats have got to come into rooms together and talk to each other?
As scary as that sounds, yes.
And they agreed to do it, Hallie. The thing I found most interesting is that they couldn't agree on the facts, but they pledged to try to access more unbiased news sources so that they could come to the truth, at least a different truth than some of them now think that they think is true or is the right thing. It was fascinating to see them actually listening to one another and their willingness to accept the other person's opinion.
All right, final feedback. What do you think?
Well done. I agree.
It's a good organization.
Yeah, it's a great organization. So braverangels.org. My name is Miles Eddy. I want to thank the Monroe County Public Library for supplying this wonderful space. I want to thank Cats TV for covering this and making sure that we weren't going to turn anybody away and having an overflow space for the conference room. I can see using that conference room in this kind of venue that we have created tonight as we go through the next year, through the 2024 presidential election cycle, to bring us together when things get hard, to say we have tools to get together. braverangels.org/join, please do. My name is Miles Eddy. Thank you so much. I'm so excited. Everybody give yourself a big round of applause. Hip, hip. And I wanted to try this, my last trick. The last trick. It's a tricky situation, right? Yeah. And this is fun because, like so many things in life, it's like you work at it, you work at it, you work at it, and then it clicks. I think Brave Angels is starting to click. Applaud for yourselves. Thanks, everyone.